The question hit like a slap across the silent ballroom. Why are you still alone? What's wrong with you? Marketing director Vanessa Pierce stood under crystal chandeliers, microphone in hand, her confident smile frozen as she watched Daniel Reed, the quiet analyst everyone ignored, rise from his seat. His voice cut through 200 guests. My wife died 3 years ago. I'm raising our daughter alone. The room went ice cold. Vanessa's hands trembled. She just humiliated a widower at the company holiday party, on camera, in front of executives, in front of everyone. Want to see how one cruel question changed 2 lives forever? Stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The Metropolitan Tower's 42nd floor had been transformed into a winter palace. White lights cascaded down floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city's glittering skyline. Ice sculptures shaped like company logos sweated under spotlights, while a jazz quartet played softly in the corner. The annual Hartwell and Associates holiday party was the social event of the corporate calendar, the night when hierarchies loosened, champagne flowed freely, and carefully maintained professional masks slipped just enough to be interesting. Vanessa Pierce moved through the crowd like she owned it, which in many ways she did. As the company's youngest marketing director, she'd built her reputation on reading rooms, understanding people, and turning moments into opportunities. Tonight she wore a red dress that demanded attention and heels that added 3 inches to her already commanding presence. Her dark hair fell in perfect waves, her makeup flawless, her smile practiced and bright. Vanessa, someone called from near the bar. Come tell Marcus about the Pemberton pitch, she waved, laughing. Later, I'm working the room. And she was. Vanessa had learned early that success wasn't just about performance metrics and quarterly reports. It was about visibility, relationships, and knowing exactly how to make people remember you. She'd mastered the art of the memorable entrance, the perfectly timed joke, the toast that got quoted in Monday morning emails. Tonight's entertainment, her idea, naturally, was a game called Holiday Honesty. Simple concept. Names drawn from a bowl, questions asked, answers given, nothing too serious, just enough edge to keep things interesting. She'd even cleared it with HR, sort of. All right, everyone, Vanessa called out, tapping her champagne glass until the conversations dimmed. Time for some holiday honesty. We've all worked hard this year, so let's have some fun. Appreciative murmurs rippled through the crowd. People loved this, the slight danger of it, the possibility of being chosen, the entertainment value of watching colleagues squirm under friendly fire. Vanessa reached into the crystal bowl where every employee's name had been deposited. She pulled out a slip of paper and read it with theatrical flair. Daniel Reed! The name landed with less impact than she'd hoped. A few scattered claps, some confused looks. Near the back of the room, a man in his mid-30s stood slowly. He looked uncomfortable in his suit, like someone who'd rather be anywhere else. Vanessa sized him up quickly. Daniel Reed, senior financial analyst, joined the company about 3 years ago. Solid performer, never made waves, never stayed late, always left at exactly 5:15. No social media presence she could find, kept to himself. Ate lunch at his desk, polite but distant at company events. In other words, boring, forgettable, safe, which made him perfect. Daniel Reed, everyone, Vanessa announced with exaggerated enthusiasm, determined to inject some energy into the moment. Come on up here, Daniel. He walked toward her with reluctant steps, hands in his pockets. As he got closer, Vanessa noticed details she'd never paid attention to before. He was actually quite handsome, strong jawline, thoughtful eyes, dark hair with just a touch of gray at the temples. But there was something guarded about him, something that held people at a distance. Hi, Daniel, Vanessa said warmly, extending the microphone. Thanks for being a good sport. Sure. His voice was quiet, almost resigned. Vanessa played to the crowd, her instincts taking over. So, Daniel, I've noticed something interesting about you. You're one of the few single people in our department who never joins the happy hours, never mentions dating, never brings anyone to company events. She paused for effect, letting anticipation build. In fact, you're kind of a mystery man around here. A few chuckles from the audience. Daniel's expression didn't change. Vanessa leaned in, mock conspiratorial. So here's my holiday honesty question for you, and I think everyone here is curious about the answer. She smiled brightly, going for playful charm. Why are you still alone? What's wrong with you? The laughter she expected didn't come. Instead, the room fell into a peculiar silence, the kind that happens when something has gone terribly wrong, but no one quite knows how yet. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. His expression wasn't angry or defensive. It was something worse. It was patient, like a teacher waiting for a student to realize their mistake. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. My wife died 3 years ago. I'm raising our 7-year-old daughter alone. The air seemed to leave the room. Vanessa's smile didn't so much fade as shatter. The microphone suddenly felt impossibly heavy in her hand. Around them, 200 people stood frozen, executives with champagne halfway to their lips, assistants with hands pressed to their mouths, the jazz quartet trailing off mid-song. Vanessa started, but her voice cracked. Daniel continued, still calm, still measured. Her name was Sarah. She was a teacher, 3rd grade. She died of an aneurysm on a Tuesday morning while making our daughter's lunch. Lily was 4 years old at the time. He paused, his composure absolute. I leave at 5:15 every day because that's when Lily gets out of after-school care. I don't go to happy hours because I have dinner to make and homework to supervise. I don't bring anyone to company events because I'm not dating. I'm parenting. Vanessa felt her face burning. Every instinct screamed at her to say something. Fix this. Turn it into something manageable. But there were no words. Daniel took the microphone from her numb fingers. To answer your question, Vanessa, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just living a different life than you assumed I was. He handed the microphone back and walked away. Not angry, not upset, just done. The silence persisted for 3 more seconds. Then someone coughed. Conversations restarted in anxious whispers. The jazz quartet picked up their instruments uncertainly, and Vanessa stood under the chandelier lights, alone, feeling 200 pairs of eyes judging her with the same casual cruelty she'd just weaponized. Her boss, Marcus Chen, appeared at her elbow. My office, Monday, 9 a.m. She nodded mutely. The rest of the party blurred past in a haze of shame. People avoided her eyes. The game was quietly abandoned. Someone had already posted a video of the exchange to the company Slack channel with the caption, "Yikes." Within an hour, it had been deleted, but Vanessa knew that meant it had already been screenshot, forwarded, and immortalized. She left early, slipping out without her coat, desperate to escape the scene of her own disaster. In the elevator down, alone except for her reflection in the polished brass doors, Vanessa replayed the moment over and over. The way Daniel's voice had remained steady, the way he'd looked at her, not with anger but with something close to pity, the way he'd corrected her assumption with such simple, devastating clarity. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm just living a different life than you assumed I was. She'd humiliated herself more than him, because he'd walked away with dignity and tact, while she'd revealed herself as exactly the kind of person she'd always sworn she wasn't, cruel in pursuit of entertainment, thoughtless in pursuit of attention. The weekend that followed was excruciating. Vanessa spent Saturday morning in bed, compulsively checking her phone. The video had made it to Twitter. Someone had posted it on LinkedIn with a think piece caption about workplace culture and emotional intelligence. Her Instagram DMs filled with messages from people she barely knew, some supportive, most disappointed. Her best friend Jenna called 3 times before Vanessa finally answered. Are you okay? Jenna asked immediately. I'm a horrible person, Vanessa said flatly. You made a mistake. I humiliated a widower at a Christmas party, Jenna, for laughs, in front of the entire company. Vanessa pressed her palm against her forehead. What kind of person does that? The kind who didn't know, Jenna said gently. You couldn't have known. That's the point, Vanessa whispered. I didn't know because I never bothered to find out. I saw someone quiet and private and assumed something must be wrong with them. I turned someone's grief into entertainment. She spent Sunday researching Daniel Reed like she should have done months ago. Not for work reasons, not for strategy, but because she needed to understand what she'd done. His wife Sarah had been beloved at her elementary school. Vanessa found an old news article about her death. Sudden, tragic, leaving behind a husband and young daughter. There was a memorial fund in her name for classroom supplies. Parents had written tributes about how she'd changed their children's lives. Daniel barely existed online. No Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter. The only photos Vanessa found were professional headshots and one group photo from a finance conference. He was a ghost. Deliberately, she now understood. Not because he was hiding, but because he was protecting his privacy, protecting his daughter. And Vanessa had violated that privacy in the most public way possible. Monday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. Vanessa dressed carefully, professional, subdued, nothing flashy. She arrived at the office at 7:30, hoping to avoid the worst of the stares. It didn't work. People glanced away when she passed. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Someone actually whispered, "There she is," loud enough for her to hear. At 8:45, she stood outside Marcus Chen's office, trying to calm her racing heart. "Come in," he called before she could knock. Marcus was 53, brilliant, and known for his directness. He gestured to a chair without preamble. "Close the door." Vanessa sat, hands folded in her lap like a student called to the principal's office. "I've received 17 emails about Friday night," Marcus said, leaning back in his chair. "From employees, from HR, from 2 members of the executive board. Everyone wants to know what I'm going to do about it." "I'm so sorry." He held up a hand. "Let me finish. Some people want you fired. Some want a formal apology. Some want mandatory sensitivity training for the entire marketing department." He paused. "What do you think should happen?" Vanessa blinked. She'd expected anger, punishment, maybe a written warning. Not this. "I think," she started carefully, "I think I need to apologize to Daniel, privately. Not as some PR move, but because I genuinely owe him that." Marcus nodded slowly. "And? And I need to understand why I thought that kind of question was okay in the first place." Vanessa's voice was steady now, drawing on reserves of honesty she usually saved for performance reviews. "I built a career on reading people, on understanding what makes them tick. But I've been reading them like data points, not like human beings. I saw Daniel as a puzzle to solve for entertainment value, not as a person with a life I knew nothing about." "Good," Marcus said simply. "That's a start." He pulled out a folder. "HR wants a formal apology in writing. I've convinced them to hold off on further action pending your conversation with Daniel and his response. But Vanessa, this is serious. You're talented, but talent doesn't excuse cruelty, even unintentional cruelty." "I know." "Do you?" Marcus leaned forward, "Because the Vanessa I know is sharp, ambitious, and incredibly good at her job. She's also someone who sometimes confuses confidence with immunity. You're not immune to consequences just because you're good at what you do." The words hit like the diagnosis: accurate, uncomfortable, impossible to deny. "I understand," Vanessa said quietly. "Daniel's in his office," Marcus said. "Go talk to him. Really talk to him. Not a performance, not damage control. An actual conversation between 2 adults about what happened and what it meant." Vanessa stood on shaky legs. "Thank you for not firing me." "I'm not thanking you yet," Marcus said dryly. "That depends on the next hour." Daniel's office was on the 37th floor, tucked into a quiet corner of the finance department. Vanessa had never been down here before. The space felt different from marketing, less frenetic, more focused. People worked with their heads down, classical music playing softly from someone's speakers. She found his door slightly ajar. Through the gap, she could see him working at his computer. Concentration absolute. There was a photo on his desk, a little girl with wild curls and a gap-toothed smile holding a soccer ball. Sarah's daughter. Lily. Vanessa knocked softly. Daniel looked up. His expression didn't change. No anger, no warmth, just neutral acknowledgement. "Come in." She entered, closing the door behind her. For a moment, she just stood there, all her practiced speeches evaporating. "I'm sorry," she finally said. "That's not enough. I know it's not, but I need to say it anyway. I'm genuinely, completely sorry for what I did Friday night." Daniel gestured to the chair across from his desk. Vanessa sat. "I didn't know about your wife," she continued, words tumbling out now. "That's not an excuse. I shouldn't have made that kind of assumption about anyone, regardless of whether I knew their situation. I turned your privacy into a spectacle because I thought it would be entertaining. That was wrong. Daniel listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. I appreciate the apology, he said finally. And I accept it. You didn't know about Sarah because I don't talk about her at work. That's my choice. But I should have respected that choice, instead of trying to force you into the spotlight, Vanessa said. Yes, Daniel agreed simply. You should have. The directness of it was almost refreshing. No platitudes, no easy forgiveness. Can I ask you something? Vanessa said carefully. How did you stay so calm Friday night? I would have been furious. Daniel leaned back in his chair, considering. I've spent 3 years learning that people make assumptions about grief, about single parents, about men raising daughters alone. Usually the assumptions are just ignorant, not malicious. Yours was both, but mainly because you were playing to a crowd. He paused. Being angry wouldn't have changed what happened. But answering honestly made you feel what I feel almost daily, the weight of assumptions I didn't ask for. Vanessa absorbed this, feeling the truth of it settle uncomfortably in her chest. I don't expect forgiveness, she said, but I want you to know I'm going to do better. Not just apologize and move on, but actually change how I think about people. That would be good, Daniel said. For you, more than for me. They sat in silence for a moment. Outside the window, the city stretched out beneath them, indifferent to their small drama. Your daughter is beautiful, Vanessa said, nodding toward the photo. She has your eyes. Daniel's expression softened just slightly. She has her mother's spirit. Fierce, brilliant, completely unafraid. He smiled, the first real warmth she'd seen from him. She's the reason I keep going. Vanessa stood to leave, feeling like she'd been given something she didn't quite deserve. Not forgiveness, but understanding. As she reached the door, Daniel spoke again. Vanessa? She turned. The question you asked, he said slowly. It wasn't entirely unfair. I am alone. By choice, mostly. But still. The problem wasn't the question. It was the assumption that being alone means something's wrong. I understand that now, Vanessa said. Thank you for taking the time to explain it. She left his office feeling lighter, but not absolved. The apology was done, but the real work was just beginning. The work of becoming someone who saw people instead of opportunities, who valued privacy instead of exploiting it, who understood that not every story was hers to tell. The week that followed was strange. The video eventually disappeared from social media, though Vanessa knew screenshots lived forever. HR sent her to a half-day workshop on workplace sensitivity that was actually more useful than she'd expected. She wrote the formal apology Marcus requested, and she meant every word. But the real change was quieter. Vanessa started noticing people differently. The receptionist who always smiled despite working a second job. The analyst who brought homemade lunch because he was saving for his daughter's college fund. The quiet woman in accounting who volunteers at an animal shelter every weekend. Lives happening all around her that she'd never bothered to see. She stopped playing holiday honesty with people's privacy. Stopped turning moments into performances. Started asking questions because she genuinely wanted to know the answers, not because the answers would make good stories. And she started paying attention to Daniel Reed, not in a strategic way, not in a guilty way, but because she'd realized something important. He'd handled her worst moment with more grace than she'd handled most of her best ones. There was something to learn there. She watched how he worked, focused, thorough, never seeking attention but consistently excellent. How he packed up precisely at 5:10 to make the 5:15 departure. How he politely declined after work drinks but never made others feel bad for inviting him. How he existed in the office without apology but also without explanation. 2 weeks after the party, Vanessa found herself on the elevator with Daniel and 3 other colleagues. Someone mentioned the upcoming Pemberton presentation, a massive potential client worth millions to the firm. Marcus assigned it to Daniel, one of the analysts said. Biggest pitch of the quarter. Daniel just nodded, clearly uncomfortable with the attention. That's great, Vanessa said genuinely. Congratulations. He met her eyes briefly. Thanks. It was a small moment, barely worth noting. But it felt like progress. The Pemberton presentation was scheduled for 3 weeks out, and the entire company knew its importance. This wasn't just a client, it was the kind of account that defined a firm's year, that meant bonuses and expansions and career-making opportunities. Marcus had chosen Daniel to lead the pitch because his financial models were legendary, The man could read a balance sheet like poetry and translate complex data into strategies that made clients millions. But presentations weren't his strength. He was better with numbers than people, more comfortable in spreadsheets than boardrooms. Vanessa knew this because she'd started paying attention. She'd read his reports, studied his analysis, and recognized genuine brilliance hiding behind deliberate modesty. She also knew, though she tried not to think about it too much, that she was exactly the kind of person who could help him succeed. Marketing was her domain. She understood narratives, momentum, the psychology of persuasion. But after what had happened, offering help felt presumptuous. Who was she to insert herself into his professional life? So she said nothing. Until the day everything fell apart. It was a Thursday morning, 11 days before the Pemberton presentation. Vanessa was in her office reviewing campaign analytics when her assistant knocked urgently. "Something's happening in the conference room. Marcus is looking for you." Vanessa arrived to find controlled chaos. Marcus stood at the head of the table, phone pressed to his ear, expression grim. 3 senior partners flanked him, equally tense. "What's going on?" Vanessa asked. "Pemberton moved up the presentation," Marcus said, ending his call. "From next Friday to this Monday, 3 days from now." "What? Why?" "Their board schedule shifted. We present Monday morning at 9 a.m. or we lose the pitch to Harrison and Cole." Harrison and Cole, their main competitor. Missing this presentation wasn't an option. "Where's Daniel?" Vanessa asked. Marcus's expression darkened. "That's the problem. His daughter's school just called. Emergency. He had to leave." "Is she okay?" "I don't know. He just grabbed his coat and ran." Marcus rubbed his temples. "Look, I know Daniel's brilliant, but if he can't make Monday work, we need a backup plan. The presentation's half finished. The financial models need another 40 hours of work, and we need someone who can sell the vision, not just the numbers." Around the table, eyes turned to Vanessa. "No," she said immediately. "This is Daniel's account. His work. You can't just replace him." "I'm not replacing him," Marcus said firmly. "I'm being realistic. If his daughter's in crisis, he might not be able to finish this in time. And we can't risk a multi-million-dollar client on might." Vanessa felt something protective rise in her chest, unexpected and fierce. "Give him until end of day. Let him decide what he can handle before we make decisions for him." Marcus studied her for a long moment. "Fine. But Vanessa, start familiarizing yourself with his materials, just in case." She spent the afternoon in Daniel's shared project files, reviewing his work. It was extraordinary, dense with insight, meticulously researched, showing exactly why Pemberton should trust Hartwell with their portfolio. But it was also incomplete. Sections marked to do, slides without graphics, narratives that needed polishing. 40 hours of work. Maybe more. And Daniel had just left for a family emergency. At 4:30, her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "This is Daniel. Sorry to message on your personal phone. Got your number from company directory. Lily had an accident at school. Broken arm. Currently in ER. She's okay but needs surgery tomorrow morning. I'll be out tomorrow and Monday." Vanessa's heart sank. Not just for the presentation, but for that little girl in the photo, the one with the gap-toothed smile who'd already lost so much. She texted back, "I'm so sorry. How is she doing? What can I do to help?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "She's scared but brave. Surgery is routine but still. Listen, I know the Pemberton presentation moved up. I know what that means for the company. I'll try to finish the work from the hospital tonight, but I can't guarantee Monday." Vanessa stared at the message. Daniel was sitting in an emergency room with his injured daughter, and he was worried about a work presentation. She made a decision. "Don't worry about Pemberton. Focus on Lily. I'll handle the presentation." The response was immediate. "You don't have to do that." "I know, I want to. Send me everything you have. I'll finish it." A long pause. Then, "Thank you." Vanessa looked at the time. 4:35 p.m. The presentation was in 77 hours. She rolled up her sleeves and got to work. Friday disappeared in a blur of spreadsheets, financial models, and market analysis. Vanessa worked through lunch, through dinner, through the night. She called in favors from the graphics team, consulted with 3 different analysts, and rewrote sections until they sang. But she didn't change Daniel's core work. She polished it, enhanced it, made it presentation ready. But the brilliance was his. At 3 a.m. Saturday morning, halfway through building the slide deck, her phone buzzed. Surgery went well. Lily's asleep. Doctor says full recovery in 6 weeks. Thank you for taking this on. Vanessa smiled despite her exhaustion. That's wonderful news. Give her my best. And stop thanking me. You would do the same. Actually, I wouldn't. I barely know you. Then consider this my real apology. Better late than never. Sunday evening, Vanessa sent the completed presentation to Marcus. 217 slides. 43 pages of supporting documentation. 3 different pitch versions depending on Pemberton's priorities. Marcus called immediately. This is exceptional. Better than I expected. You sure Daniel's okay with this? He knows, Vanessa said. And Marcus? Put his name on everything. This is his work. I just made it presentable. Monday morning, Vanessa stood in the Pemberton boardroom wearing her best suit and her most confident smile. 6 executives sat across from her, including their CEO, a sharp-eyed woman named Catherine Torres, who'd built her reputation on spotting bullshit from 3 rooms away. Vanessa took a breath and began. Good morning. My name is Vanessa Pierce, but I'm not the person you were supposed to meet today. You were supposed to meet Daniel Reed, our senior financial analyst, whose models and insights form the foundation of everything you're about to see. She clicked to the first slide, Daniel's name prominently displayed. Daniel's 7-year-old daughter had emergency surgery Friday. He's with her now because that's where a father should be. But he asked me to present his work because this opportunity matters. To him, to our firm, and most importantly, to you. Catherine Torres leaned forward slightly, listening. What you're about to see is Daniel's vision for how Hartwell can maximize your portfolio returns while minimizing institutional risk. I'm just the translator. But I believe in this work because I've seen the mind behind it, and I trust it completely. She delivered Daniel's presentation with everything she had, not performing, not selling, but believing. She knew his models cold. She understood his reasoning. She could answer technical questions because she'd spent 40 hours living inside his analysis. 90 minutes later, Catherine Torres stood and extended her hand. Ms. Pierce, that was one of the most honest pitches I've ever heard, and the work itself is exceptional. She paused. When can we meet this Daniel Reed? He's back Wednesday, Vanessa said. I'll arrange it personally. Please do. Tell him I look forward to working with him. Catherine smiled slightly. And with you, that took courage, admitting you were the understudy instead of taking credit. The credit belongs to him, Vanessa said simply. I just made sure his work got heard. Outside the Pemberton building, Vanessa's hands finally stopped shaking. She pulled out her phone and texted Daniel. We got it. They want to meet you Wednesday. Your work won them over. The response came 10 minutes later. Lily wants to know if you're the one who saved Daddy's big meeting. Vanessa laughed, tears suddenly hot in her eyes. Tell her yes. And tell her I hope she feels better soon. She says thank you. And I do too, for real this time. Vanessa walked back to the office through the cold December air, feeling something shift inside her. Something that had been broken at a holiday party 3 weeks ago, now beginning to heal into a different shape. She'd spent her career building a reputation. For the first time, she'd built something better, respect. The kind earned through action, not performance. The kind that meant something. Wednesday morning arrived with the kind of crisp winter clarity that made the city look renewed. Vanessa stood outside the conference room at 8:45, watching through the glass as Daniel arranged his materials with meticulous care. His daughter's surgery had been 4 days ago, and the strain showed in the set of his shoulders, the shadows under his eyes. But his hands were steady as he organized his presentation notes. Catherine Torres and her team were due at 9. Marcus appeared at Vanessa's elbow, coffee in hand. You don't need to be here, he said quietly. This is Daniel's meeting. I know, Vanessa said. I just want to make sure he has what he needs. Marcus studied her with that penetrating look he reserved for performance reviews. You've changed since the holiday party. I'm trying to. Keep trying, he said, not unkindly. It suits you. At precisely 9 o'clock, Catherine Torres swept into the conference room with 3 of her executives. She was a woman who commanded attention without demanding it, perfectly tailored suit, silver haircut sharp, eyes that missed nothing. Daniel stood to greet her, professional and composed despite everything he'd been through in the past 5 days. "Mr. Reed," Catherine said, shaking his hand firmly, "your work impressed the hell out of us. I wanted to meet the mind behind the models." "Thank you for the opportunity," Daniel said, "and thank you for your flexibility with the schedule. My daughter had an emergency." "I heard." Catherine's expression softened just slightly. "How is she?" "Recovering well. It was a clean break, fortunately." "Good. I have 3 daughters myself. I know what it's like when they're hurting." She gestured to the table. "Now, let's talk about why your approach to our portfolio is exactly what we've been looking for." The meeting lasted 90 minutes. Through the glass, Vanessa watched Daniel transform from the quiet analyst who ate lunch at his desk to someone fully in his element. He spoke about market trends and risk mitigation with a fluency that made complex concepts feel obvious. He answered technical questions with precision, never condescending, always clear. This was who he was when he felt safe. When he wasn't being examined or judged or forced into performances he never auditioned for. When Catherine Torres emerged from the conference room, her expression was satisfied. "We're signing with Hartwell," she told Marcus. "Your man in there knows his craft. And Ms. Pierce?" She turned to Vanessa. "Thank you for Monday. It takes character to step aside when you could have claimed the victory." "The victory was always his," Vanessa said. "I was just the delivery system." After the Pemberton team left, Daniel found Vanessa in her office. He knocked on the open door frame, hesitant. "Come in," she said, saving her work. He entered but didn't sit, like someone who didn't plan to stay long. "I wanted to thank you properly. What you did, taking over the presentation, giving me credit, handling Torres, that was beyond generous." "It was the right thing to do," Vanessa said simply. "Still, you didn't have to." Daniel shifted his weight, clearly uncomfortable with gratitude. "Lily wanted me to tell you thank you, too. She drew you a picture." He pulled a folded piece of paper from his jacket pocket and handed it over. Vanessa unfolded it carefully. The drawing showed 3 stick figures, one tall with yellow hair labeled Vanessa, one medium with dark hair labeled Datey, and one small with curly hair and a cast labeled Me. They were all smiling. Above them, in careful 7-year-old printing, "Thank you for helping." Something caught in Vanessa's throat. "This is beautiful. Tell her I love it." "She wants to meet you," Daniel said, and there was something new in his voice. Vulnerability, maybe. "She's decided you're a hero because you saved Daddy's meeting." Her words, not mine. Vanessa looked up from the drawing. "I'd like that. Meeting her, I mean." "Really?" Daniel looked surprised. "Really? If you're comfortable with it." He considered this, guarded walls visibly in place. "Let me think about it." "Of course. No pressure." Daniel nodded and turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Vanessa?" "The person who asked that question at the holiday party. I don't think she'd have done what you did Monday, so whoever you're becoming, it's working." He left before she could respond. Vanessa carefully folded Lily's drawing and tucked it into her desk drawer, next to quarterly reports and marketing plans. A small thing, a child's crayon on copy paper, but it felt more valuable than any professional achievement she'd collected. The weeks that followed fell into an unexpected rhythm. Daniel returned to his quiet routine, arriving at 8, leaving at 5:15, eating lunch at his desk. But now when Vanessa passed his office, he'd nod in greeting. When they ended up in the same elevator, they'd exchange small talk about projects and deadlines. It wasn't friendship exactly, more like mutual respect earned through crisis. Then came the Monday morning email that changed everything. It arrived in Vanessa's inbox at 7:43 a.m. with the subject line, "Favor to ask. Understand if answer is no." She opened it immediately. "Vanessa, my regular childcare fell through for Thursday afternoon. My sister usually covers emergencies, but she's out of town, and Lily's after-school program is closed for teacher training. I have a client call at 2 p.m. that I can't reschedule. It's the Pemberton contract finalization. I know this is unprofessional to ask, but would you be willing to watch Lily for 2 hours? My apartment is 15 minutes from the office. She's easy, homework, snack, and she'll probably just draw or read. I wouldn't ask, except I'm out of options, and this call is critical. Again, completely understand if this crosses a professional boundary. No hard feelings either way. Daniel Vanessa. Read the email 3 times, processing what he was actually asking. This wasn't about work. This was about trust. Daniel Reed, who protected his privacy like a fortress, was asking her into his home, into his daughter's life. She typed back immediately, "Yes, absolutely. What time should I be there?" His response came in seconds. "Seriously? Thank you. 1:45 p.m. I'll send you the address." Thursday afternoon, Vanessa stood outside a modest apartment building in a family-friendly neighborhood she'd never had reason to visit. The building was older but well-maintained, with window boxes waiting for spring flowers and a lobby that smelled like someone's baking. Daniel buzzed her up to the 3rd floor. He opened the door, still holding his phone, clearly in the middle of pre-call preparation. "Thank you for this. Seriously, come in." The apartment was small but thoughtfully arranged. Books everywhere, financial texts mixed with children's stories. A kitchen table covered in homework papers and crayon drawings. Photos on every surface, many featuring a woman with kind eyes and Lily's wild curls. Sarah, Daniel's late wife. "Lily?" Daniel called toward the bedrooms. "Vanessa's here." A small girl with a purple cast on her left arm emerged cautiously from a doorway. She was exactly like her photo, gap-toothed smile, curious eyes, hair that refused to be tamed. But in person, she radiated the kind of energy that made rooms feel smaller. "Hi," Lily said shyly. "Hi, Lily," Vanessa said, kneeling to her level. "I love the picture you drew me. I keep it in my desk." Lily's face lit up. "Really? Daddy said you'd probably throw it away." "Lily," Daniel started, embarrassed. "I said she might," he corrected, "because you're 7 and she's a busy adult." "Well, I didn't," Vanessa said firmly. "It's one of my favorite things." Lily beamed. Then, with the unfiltered honesty of childhood, "Daddy says you helped him when I broke my arm. Are you his friend?" Daniel and Vanessa's eyes met over Lily's head. The question hung there, more complicated than a 7-year-old could know. "I'm trying to be," Vanessa said carefully. "Good," Lily announced. "He needs more friends. He only has like 3. "Lily, go get your homework," Daniel said, fighting a smile. "Let Vanessa breathe for 2 seconds before you interrogate her." Lily skipped off, cast bouncing against her side. "I'm sorry," Daniel said, running a hand through his hair. "She's been excited about this all day. Fair warning, she's going to ask you approximately 600 questions." "I can handle it," Vanessa said. "Go make your call. We'll be fine." Daniel gathered his materials, then paused. "Emergency numbers are on the fridge. Snacks are in the pantry. She's not allergic to anything, but try to avoid too much sugar or she'll be bouncing off walls. And if anything goes wrong, Daniel, go. We'll be great." He left reluctantly, like a parent on the first day of school. Lily reappeared with a math worksheet and a pencil case shaped like a unicorn. She settled at the kitchen table, gesturing for Vanessa to sit across from her. "Do you know multiplication?" Lily asked, spreading out her homework. "I do." "Good, because I hate it. It's boring." Lily wrinkled her nose. "But Daddy says I have to learn it anyway because it's important, or whatever." "Your dad's right," Vanessa said. "But I get it. Math can be boring." "What's your job?" Lily asked, already distracted from homework. "I work in marketing. I help companies tell stories about their products so people want to buy them." "That sounds cooler than math." Lily propped her chin on her good hand. "Do you have kids?" "No, I don't." "A husband?" "Nope." "A boyfriend?" Vanessa laughed. "No boyfriend either." "Why not?" Lily asked with the blunt curiosity of someone who hadn't learned that question could hurt. Vanessa thought about how to answer. "I guess I've been really focused on my job. Sometimes that doesn't leave much room for relationships." "Oh." Lily considered this seriously. "My mom died. Did Daddy tell you?" The shift was so sudden it took Vanessa's breath. "Yes, sweetie, he told me." "I'm very sorry." "It's okay," Lily said matter-of-factly. "I was 4, so I don't remember her much. But Daddy does, and he's sad sometimes. Not all the time," she added quickly. "But sometimes I see him looking at her pictures, and his face gets all quiet." Vanessa's heart cracked open. "I bet you miss her." "I guess." Mostly I miss having a mom like my friends do, someone to braid my hair and come to school things and stuff. Lily picked at the edge of her cast. Daddy tries, but he's not good at braids. I could teach him, Vanessa offered before thinking it through. Lily's eyes went wide. Really? That would be so cool. Then he could do French braids and everything. They spent the next 20 minutes on homework, Lily narrating her thought process for each problem with endearing confidence. When the math was done, she produced a reading log that needed parent signatures. Daddy always forgets to sign this, Lily confided. He's really busy with work stuff. What are you reading now? Charlotte's Web. It's sad. Spoiler alert, the spider dies at the end. I remember, Vanessa said gently. Did it make you cry? Yeah, it did. Me too. But Daddy says it's okay to cry about things, even in books. He says crying means you cared about something. Lily looked down at her worksheet. I cried a lot when Mom died, but I don't really remember it. Daddy says that's normal. The casual way she discussed profound grief was heartbreaking. This child had learned to carry loss before she lost her first tooth. Your dad sounds like a smart guy, Vanessa said. He is. He's really good at numbers and fixing things and making pancakes, not good at braids or singing or being silly. Lily grinned. But he tries. What about you? What are you good at? Soccer. I'm the second best player on my team. And drawing. And making friends, mostly. Oh, and asking questions. Daddy says I could work for the newspaper with all my questions. I believe it, Vanessa said, charmed despite herself. Lily pulled out her art supplies, an impressive collection of markers, colored pencils, and crayons organized in a tackle box. Want to draw with me? They spent the next hour creating. Lily drew elaborate scenes of soccer games and magical forests, narrating as she worked. Vanessa sketched simple flowers and houses, rusty skills from childhood art classes emerging tentatively. You're not very good at drawing, Lily observed without malice. You're right. I'm better with words than pictures. That's okay. Daddy's terrible at drawing too. One time he tried to draw a horse and it looked like a deformed dog. Lily giggled at the memory. But he said trying new things is important even if you're bad at them. Your dad's full of good advice. Yeah, Lily added purple flames to her dragon drawing. I wish he had someone, though, like a girlfriend or something. My friend Emma's dad got a new wife, and she's really nice. She makes cookies and knows all the words to Disney songs. Vanessa treaded carefully. Do you want your dad to have a girlfriend? Lily shrugged, concentrating on her dragon. I guess. Only if she was nice and didn't try to be my mom. Nobody can be my mom except my actual mom, but maybe someone who could do the mom stuff and make Daddy smile more. He doesn't smile enough. The wisdom in that small observation was staggering. What would this person need to be like? Vanessa asked, curious. Nice and funny and good at soccer would be cool because then she could come to my games. Oh, and she'd have to be okay with Daddy being sad sometimes about Mom, because he still loves Mom even though she's gone, and that's not going to change. Lily looked up, suddenly serious. Is that weird? Loving someone who died? No, honey, that's not weird at all. That's beautiful. Good. Lily returned to her dragon. I love my mom too, even though I don't remember her much. Daddy shows me pictures and tells me stories, so I kind of know her anyway. At 3:45, Daniel's key turned in the lock. He entered looking stressed, tie loosened, but his expression softened when he saw them at the table surrounded by artwork. How'd it go? He asked. Great, Lily announced. Vanessa's bad at drawing, but really good at multiplication, and she said she'd teach you how to braid hair. Daniel's eyebrows rose. Did she now? I may have offered, Vanessa admitted, gathering her things. The call went well. Pemberton signed. Contracts finalized. We're officially their primary financial advisors. He looked genuinely pleased. Thank you again for this. Lily, did you behave? Yes, we did homework and drew pictures and talked about stuff. What kind of stuff? Daniel asked, slightly wary. Nothing embarrassing, Daddy, just normal stuff. Lily rolled her eyes with impressive 7-year-old exasperation. Vanessa caught Daniel's eye and smiled. She was wonderful, honestly. As Vanessa headed for the door, Lily called out, Can you come back? Maybe for my soccer game Saturday? We're playing the Red Dragons, and I'm starting forward. Daniel started to intervene. Lily, Vanessa's busy. But Vanessa surprised herself. What time's the game? 10 in the morning at Riverside Park. I'll be there, Vanessa said. Outside in the hallway, Daniel followed her. You don't have to come. She gets excited and invites everyone to everything. I know I don't have to, Vanessa said. I want to. Unless you'd rather I didn't? Daniel looked at her for a long moment, clearly wrestling with something. No, that would be nice, actually. Fair warning, though, 7-year-old soccer is chaos. Enthusiastic chaos, but chaos. I think I can handle it. Vanessa? Daniel's voice stopped her at the elevator. Thank you. Not just for today, for all of it. For seeing us as people instead of a problem to solve. You were never a problem, Daniel. I just needed to learn how to actually see. Saturday morning was unseasonably warm for January, the kind of false spring that made people optimistic about winter's end. Vanessa arrived at Riverside Park at 9:45, wearing jeans and a sweater, the most casual outfit she'd worn in public in months. The soccer field was exactly as chaotic as Daniel had promised. 8-year-olds in oversized jerseys ran in enthusiastic but largely directionless packs. Parents lined the sidelines with folding chairs and thermoses. Someone's dog barked excitedly every time the ball moved. She spotted Daniel easily, standing slightly apart from the other parents, hands in his pockets, eyes tracking Lily with the focused attention of someone who never stopped being vigilant. Hey, Vanessa said, approaching. He turned, surprised. You actually came. I said I would. Vanessa! Lily's voice carried across the field. She waved frantically from the bench, cast covered in signatures and stickers. You came! Of course I did, Vanessa called back. The game started with a whistle and immediate pandemonium. Lily was fast, aggressive, and utterly fearless despite her cast. She stole the ball from opponents twice her size, passed to teammates who weren't paying attention, and narrated her own plays loudly enough for everyone to hear. That's my daughter, Daniel said with unmistakable pride. Afraid of absolutely nothing. She's incredible. She is. He paused. She likes you. She talked about you all evening Thursday. Vanessa said this. Vanessa thinks that. I like her too. She's funny and smart and surprisingly wise. Gets that from her mother, Daniel said quietly. Sarah was the wise one. I just do the numbers. Vanessa watched Lily score a goal and celebrate with a victory dance that made every parent smile. You're doing an amazing job with her, Daniel. She's happy, healthy, confident. That's not just numbers. Most days I feel like I'm barely holding it together, he admitted. Single parenting is just controlled crisis management. Welcome to my entire career, Vanessa said, and he actually laughed. They fell into comfortable silence, watching the game. Around them, other parents chatted and gossiped, but Daniel and Vanessa existed in their own quiet bubble. At halftime, Lily ran over for water and orange slices. Did you see my goal, Vanessa? I did a fake out on number 7 and then boom, top corner. I saw, it was amazing. Are you going to stay for the whole game? I am. Cool. Watch this next part. I'm going to score at least 2 more. Lily's confidence was absolute. She scored 1 more and assisted on another. Her team won 5-3. After the final whistle, Lily sprinted to them, sweaty and jubilant. We crushed them, she announced. Did you see? Did you see? We saw everything, Daniel said, hugging her despite the sweat. You were incredible. Ice cream? Lily asked hopefully. To celebrate? Daniel hesitated. Clearly this was a regular tradition, but Vanessa's presence complicated it. You should go, Vanessa said quickly. Family tradition, right? You could come, Lily said immediately. It's more fun with more people. Daniel met Vanessa's eyes with a question in his own. If you're sure, Vanessa said carefully. We're sure, Daniel said, and meant it. And meant. They went to a small ice cream shop 2 blocks away, the kind of neighborhood place with hand-painted signs and flavors like Grandma's apple pie. Lily ordered mint chocolate chip in a waffle cone. Daniel got black coffee. Vanessa chose vanilla bean. Vanilla's boring, Lily informed her cheerfully. Sometimes boring is exactly what you need, Vanessa countered. They sat at a sticky table by the window, Lily recounting every play of the game with elaborate hand gestures. Daniel listened with patient attention, asking questions, praising specific moments. It was clear this was their ritual: soccer, then ice cream, then a full game analysis from Lily's perspective. Vanessa felt like an observer to something sacred, a small family rebuilt from tragedy, finding joy in ordinary moments. Daddy never brings friends to games, Lily said suddenly, licking her cone. Just Aunt Rebecca sometimes, but she doesn't really like soccer. Lily, Daniel warned gently. What? It's true. She always sits in her car and watches on her phone. Your Aunt Rebecca is very busy, Daniel said diplomatically. So is Vanessa, but she still came and actually watched. Lily turned to Vanessa. Are you coming to my next game? Lily, we talked about this, Daniel said. Vanessa has her own life. She can't come to every game. Why not? Lily asked with childlike logic. She doesn't have kids. She doesn't have a boyfriend. What else is she doing on Saturdays? Vanessa laughed at the blunt assessment. You know what? I'd like to come to more games, if your dad says it's okay. It's okay, Lily said immediately. Daniel looked torn between gratitude and concern. You really don't have to— I know, Vanessa interrupted gently, but I'd like to, if that's all right with you. Something shifted in Daniel's expression, walls lowering just slightly. Yeah, that would be nice. Over the following weeks, Vanessa became a regular fixture at Lily's soccer games. She learned the names of teammates: Emma, the defender; Sophia, the aggressive midfielder; Jackson, who picked dandelions during plays. She learned which parents brought the best snacks and which coach's whistle meant a penalty versus a substitution. More importantly, she learned the rhythm of Daniel and Lily's life together. Saturday mornings meant soccer, always followed by ice cream. Sunday afternoons were for homework prep and meal planning for the week. Weeknight dinners happened at exactly 6:30, bath time at 7:45, bedtime stories at 8:15. Daniel ran his household like he ran his financial models: structured, predictable, safe. But within that structure, there was warmth. Lily's artwork covered every wall. Daniel knew every teacher's name, every friend's birthday, every fear his daughter carried. He wasn't just surviving single parenthood. He was excelling at it in his own quiet way. Vanessa found herself invited into their orbit gradually, almost imperceptibly. A text from Daniel asking if she wanted to join them for pizza after a particularly brutal game. Lily calling Vanessa directly, using her father's phone, to ask help with a school project about careers in business. An offhand mention that they were going to the Science Museum Sunday if Vanessa had nothing better to do. She never had anything better to do. Her weekends, once filled with networking brunches and strategic happy hours, now revolved around a 7-year-old's schedule. And somehow, that felt like the first honest thing she'd done in years. You're different lately, Jenna observed over their regular Tuesday lunch. Happier, less calculating, Vanessa supplied. I was going to say intense, but yeah, you seem more relaxed. Is it the promotion? Vanessa stabbed at her salad. Marcus had indeed promoted her to Senior Director of Marketing after the Pemberton success. Corner office, significant raise, direct reports, everything she'd worked toward for 5 years. It's not the promotion, Vanessa said carefully. Jenna's eyes narrowed with interest. Oh my, you're seeing someone. No, not exactly. What does not exactly mean? Vanessa set down her fork. I've been spending time with a colleague and his daughter, just as friends, nothing romantic. A colleague with a kid? Jenna processed this. Wait, is this the widower from the holiday party? The one you accidentally— Yes, Vanessa interrupted. Daniel. And before you say anything, it's not like that. I'm just helping out sometimes. Being a friend. Uh-huh. Jenna's skepticism was palpable. And how does he feel about this friendship? Grateful, I think. He doesn't have a lot of support. His sister helps when she can, but she lives 2 hours away. Lily's grandparents are both gone. It's mostly just him. That's a lot of responsibility to take on voluntarily, Jenna said carefully. Getting involved with a single parent, even as friends, that's complicated. I know. Do you? Because, Vanessa, you're not exactly known for your long-term commitments. Remember when you adopted that plant and it died in 3 weeks? That was different. Plants don't talk to you. Exactly my point. A plant is low stakes. A child? A grieving widower? That's about as high stakes as it gets. Jenna's expression softened. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying be sure. Because if you walk away, you're not just leaving him, you're leaving her too. The words hit harder than Vanessa expected. She'd been so focused on showing up, on proving she'd changed, that she hadn't fully considered the implications of becoming important to Lily. I'm not going anywhere, Vanessa said quietly. You sure about that? What happens when it gets hard? When the novelty wears off and it's just the daily grind of someone else's life? Then I stay anyway, Vanessa said with more certainty than she felt. Because they matter to me. Jenna studied her for a long moment. You're falling for him. I'm not. You are. Maybe not romantically yet, but you're falling for that whole family. I can see it. Jenna reached across the table, squeezing Vanessa's hand. Just be careful, for everyone's sake. That night, alone in her pristine apartment with its designer furniture and carefully curated art, Vanessa thought about Jenna's warning. Her life had always been about control. Controlling narratives, controlling perceptions, controlling outcomes. But with Daniel and Lily, she had no control. She was simply present, moment by moment, with no script and no strategy. And somehow that was the most terrifying and exhilarating thing she'd ever done. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon while Vanessa was in a marketing review meeting. Her phone buzzed with Daniel's name, unusual for a weekday. She stepped out of the conference room. Hey, is everything okay? Daniel's voice was tight with barely controlled panic. Lily's school just called. She's in the principal's office. There was an incident. What kind of incident? She pushed another kid, hard enough that the kid fell and hit a desk. He exhaled shakily. The principal wants a parent there immediately. I'm in the middle of the Pemberton quarterly review. I can't just walk out. My sister's not answering her phone and I don't know what to do. Vanessa was already grabbing her coat. What school? Riverside Elementary, but Vanessa, you don't have to text me the address. I'm leaving now. Are you sure? Daniel, text me the address. 20 minutes later, Vanessa walked into Riverside Elementary's main office. The school smelled like industrial cleaner and children's artwork covered every wall. Behind the reception desk, a tired-looking woman glanced up. I'm here for Lily Reed, Vanessa said. She paused, uncertain of her actual role. I'm a family friend. Her father's in an emergency work meeting. The receptionist's expression suggested she'd heard every excuse. Principal Hayes is expecting a parent. I understand, but I'm what you've got right now. Lily's father will be here as soon as he can. After a tense negotiation and a phone call to confirm Vanessa was listed on Lily's emergency contacts, something Daniel must have added recently, she was escorted to the principal's office. Lily sat in a chair that was too big for her, arms crossed, face defiant even as tears streaked her cheeks. Her purple cast looked somehow accusatory in the fluorescent lighting. Lily, Vanessa said gently. I'm not sorry, Lily announced immediately. I'm not. Principal Hayes, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes but firm posture, gestured to another chair. Miss Pierce, thank you for coming. I'm afraid we have a serious situation. What happened? During lunch, Lily physically pushed another student, Marcus Chen. His name is Marcus, Lily interrupted hotly. Same as your boss, Vanessa, but he's mean, not nice. Causing him to fall and strike his head on a table, Principal Hayes continued. Fortunately, he wasn't seriously injured, but physical violence is never acceptable. She's 7, Vanessa said carefully. I'm not excusing it, but what led to the pushing? Principal Hayes consulted her notes. According to witnesses, Marcus made a comment about Lily's mother. Lily responded by pushing him. What kind of comment? Vanessa's voice hardened. Does it matter? Principal Hayes asked. We have a zero-tolerance policy. It matters to me, Vanessa said firmly. What did he say? The principal hesitated, then sighed. He said Lily's mother didn't love her, or she wouldn't have died. The words hung in the air like poison. Vanessa looked at Lily, whose defiant expression had crumbled into something raw and wounded. Is that true, Lily? He said Mom left me on purpose, Lily whispered. He said if she really loved me, she would have tried harder to stay alive. He said that's why I don't have a mom, and it's probably my fault. Rage flooded through Vanessa, white-hot and protective. She turned to Principal Hayes. And what's happening to Marcus? He'll receive a verbal warning about appropriate comments. A verbal warning? Vanessa's professional composure cracked. He told a 7-year-old that her dead mother didn't love her, and he gets a warning, while Lily faces what exactly? School policy dictates that physical violence results in a 1-day suspension. Absolutely not. Vanessa leaned forward. That child weaponized Lily's grief. He attacked the most vulnerable part of her life. And when she reacted, yes, inappropriately, we'll address that. She's the one being punished. Ms. Pierce, I understand you're upset, but our hands are tied by district policy. Then your policy is broken, Vanessa said flatly. Lily defended herself against emotional abuse. If you suspend her without equally addressing what provoked it, I will escalate this to the school board. Principal Hayes blinked, clearly unused to being challenged. That seems extreme. What's extreme is a child being taught that her mother's death is her fault, and the adult response is to punish her for being hurt by it. Vanessa? A small voice. Lily was staring at her with something like awe. Vanessa softened immediately, reaching for Lily's hand. It's okay, sweetie. We're going to figure this out. The office door opened and Daniel rushed in, hair disheveled, tie askew. I'm so sorry I'm late. The meeting... He stopped, taking in the scene. What's happening? Vanessa stood. Lily pushed another student who told her that her mother didn't love her because she died. Principal Hayes wants to suspend Lily. I'm arguing that's inappropriate given the circumstances. Daniel's expression went through several rapid transformations. Shock, fury, protective rage. He turned to his daughter. Lily, are you okay? Vanessa yelled at the principal for me, Lily said, voice small. She said I was defending myself. She was, Vanessa confirmed, looking at Daniel. And that kid needs consequences too, real ones. Daniel took a breath, visibly steadying himself. Principal Hayes, I appreciate your position, but I agree with Vanessa. If this policy punishes victims of bullying for defending themselves, it needs to be revisited. Lily was wrong to push. We'll address that. But that doesn't absolve the other child's cruelty. What followed was a tense 40-minute negotiation. Daniel's calm rationality paired with Vanessa's fierce advocacy created an effective team. Eventually, they reached a compromise. Lily would receive in-school reflection time to discuss appropriate responses to conflict. Marcus would receive mandatory counseling sessions about grief, empathy, and appropriate peer interaction. Both families would be contacted for conferences. Not perfect, but better than suspension. Outside in the parking lot, Daniel finally exhaled. Thank you for getting here, for fighting for her. Of course. He looked at her with something new in his expression, not just gratitude, but recognition. You didn't have to do that. You could have just stayed with her until I arrived. But you went to battle. She's important to me, Vanessa said simply. Daddy? Lily's voice was muffled against his side where she'd pressed her face. Can we go home? Yeah, baby. Let's go home. Vanessa started toward her car, but Daniel called after her. Come with us? Please? I think Lily could use some comfort food, and honestly, so could I. Back at their apartment, Daniel made grilled cheese sandwiches while Lily sat at the table, quieter than Vanessa had ever seen her. Want to talk about it? Vanessa asked gently, sitting beside her. Marcus is mean, Lily said finally. He says stuff to be mean, but I shouldn't have pushed him. No, you shouldn't have, but I understand why you did. Are you mad at me? I'm not mad. I'm sad that someone hurt you like that. Your mom loved you very much, Lily. Her dying wasn't her choice, and it definitely wasn't your fault. I know that, Lily said, but her voice wobbled. In my brain, I know, but when Marcus said it, it felt true for a second. Daniel brought over sandwiches, sitting down heavily. Lily, we've talked about this. Some kids say hurtful things because they don't understand. That doesn't make it okay, but it also doesn't make it true. He said nobody's mom dies unless they want to leave, Lily whispered. He said normal moms stay. Daniel's face crumpled for just a moment before he regained control. Mom's death was medical, Lily, an aneurysm. Nothing she could control. She would have stayed forever if she could have. I know. Lily picked at her sandwich. Can I go to my room? Of course. After she left, Daniel dropped his head into his hands. I thought we were past this. She hasn't asked about Sarah's death in months. I thought she'd accepted it. Kids don't process grief linearly, Vanessa said quietly. They circle back to it when something triggers it. How do you know that? I looked it up. After I started spending time with you two, I wanted to understand what she might be dealing with. Daniel looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. You researched childhood grief? For Lily? Of course. I care about her. I want to support her properly. Vanessa. Daniel's voice was thick. Do you understand what you're doing? What you've become to us? The question hung between them, weighted with implications. I'm trying to be a good friend, Vanessa said carefully. You're more than that. To Lily, definitely. And to me. He stopped, running a hand through his hair. I don't know what you are to me, but it's more than friendship. Vanessa's heart hammered. Daniel, I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I'm just acknowledging reality. You show up, consistently. You fight for my daughter. You've integrated yourself into our lives so thoroughly that when something goes wrong, calling you feels natural. That's not just friendship. What is it then? Vanessa asked, barely breathing. I don't know, but it scares me. Daniel met her eyes. Because if this becomes something and then ends, Lily gets hurt. And I can't let her go through another loss. I'm not going anywhere, Vanessa said, echoing what she'd told Jenna. But saying it to Daniel felt different, more like a promise than a reassurance. You can't know that, Daniel said, not unkindly. Life changes, people change. 3 months ago, you didn't know we existed. What happens when this novelty wears off? This isn't novelty, Vanessa said, frustration creeping in. I'm not here because it's interesting or because I feel guilty about the holiday party. I'm here because I care about you, both of you, deeply. Why? The question was raw. Why us? You could have anyone. Your life was fine before we complicated it. Vanessa thought about her pristine apartment, her careful career, her strategic friendships. My life wasn't fine. It was controlled. There's a difference. She paused, searching for words. You and Lily, you're real. Everything about you is honest and present and unpolished. Being with you two is the first time in years I've felt like I'm living instead of performing. Daniel was silent for a long moment. I haven't dated since Sarah died. Haven't even considered it. The idea of letting someone into Lily's life, into our routine, into the space Sarah left, it feels impossible. I'm not trying to replace anyone, Vanessa said softly. I know, but what are you trying to do? I'm trying to show up, to be present, to care about people without agenda. She met his eyes. I'm trying to be someone worth knowing. For the first time in my adult life, I'm trying to just be genuine. You are, Daniel said. Worth knowing, I mean. You're stubborn and fierce, and you don't back down when it matters. Lily adores you. She talks about you constantly. He paused. And I'm terrified of what that means. Before Vanessa could respond, Lily appeared in the doorway, clutching a worn stuffed rabbit. Can Vanessa stay for movie night, please? Daniel looked at Vanessa, question in his eyes. I'd like that, Vanessa said. If it's okay. They watched an animated film about a girl who saves her island, Lily wedged between them on the couch, providing enthusiastic commentary. Halfway through, she fell asleep against Vanessa's shoulder, the rabbit tucked under her good arm. Daniel carefully lifted her, carrying her to bed. Vanessa heard him murmuring bedtime reassurances, the ritual of tucking in and checking nightlights. When he returned, they sat in comfortable silence for a moment. She's never fallen asleep on anyone but me, Daniel said quietly. Not since Sarah. She's exhausted. It was a rough day. No, you don't understand. After Sarah died, Lily became almost hypervigilant. She wouldn't sleep unless I was right there. Wouldn't let anyone else comfort her. It took a year before she'd stay with my sister overnight. He looked at Vanessa. But she trusts you enough to fall asleep on you. That's huge. The weight of that trust settled over Vanessa like a responsibility and a gift. I should go, she said, though she didn't want to. Probably, Daniel agreed, not moving to stop her. At the door, Vanessa turned back. Daniel, I meant what I said. I'm not going anywhere. I know you don't fully believe that yet, but I'll keep showing up until you do. That might take a while, he said with a small smile. I've got time. The weeks that followed established a new normal. Vanessa attended every soccer game. She helped with homework on Wednesday evenings when Daniel had late client calls. She learned to make Lily's favorite grilled cheese with tomato soup. She kept emergency hair ties in her purse because Lily's always went missing. She also started noticing things about Daniel that had nothing to do with being helpful. The way his eyes crinkled when Lily made him laugh. How his hands moved with precise confidence, whether he was reviewing financial reports or braiding his daughter's hair. The rare moments when his guard dropped completely and she glimpsed the man he'd been before loss redefined him. She was falling for him, slowly, terrifyingly, undeniably. And she had no idea if he felt the same way. The crisis came on a Saturday morning in early March. Lily's team had made it to the regional finals, an upset victory that had the 7-year-olds convinced they were professionals. The game was scheduled for 10 a.m. Vanessa arrived at the field at 9:30, scanning for Daniel's familiar figure. She didn't see him. Unusual, but not alarming. He was probably running late. 9:45. Still no Daniel. At 9:50, her phone rang. Daniel's voice was strained. Vanessa, I need help. I'm at the hospital. Her stomach dropped. What happened? Is Lily? Lily's fine. She's at the field with my sister. But I'm with my dad. Heart attack. They called me 2 hours ago and I've been here since. I can't leave, but Rebecca has to go to a work emergency and there's no one to watch Lily during the game and I can't. His voice cracked. I can't be there for her. I'm here, Vanessa said immediately. At the field. I'll stay with her. Don't worry about anything except your dad. Vanessa, it's the championship game. She's been talking about it for weeks. I promised I'd be there. I know, but sometimes life doesn't care about promises. Lily will understand. I'll make sure she's okay. A shaky exhale. Thank you. Rebecca's wearing a blue jacket. She'll find you. And Vanessa, tell Lily I love her. And I'm sorry. I will. Take care of your dad. Vanessa found Rebecca, a harried woman in her 40s who looked relieved to see her. You're Vanessa? Thank goodness. I have a client emergency I can't miss. Lily knows you'll be here? I'll handle it. After Rebecca left, Vanessa approached the bench where Lily sat with her team, all of them in matching jerseys. Lily's face lit up when she saw her. Vanessa, where's Daddy? Vanessa knelt down to her level. Your dad had a family emergency, sweetie. His father, your grandfather, is sick. He's at the hospital. Lily's face fell. But it's the championship. I know. He wanted to be here. He's really sorry he can't be. Is Grandpa going to die? The question was matter of fact, but fear lurked beneath. I don't know, honey, but your dad is with him and the doctors are helping. Lily nodded slowly, processing. Then, with the resilience of someone who'd already survived the worst, will you watch? I know you're not my dad, but will you stay? I'm not going anywhere, Vanessa promised, the words carrying weight beyond this moment. The game was intense. Lily played with fierce determination, as if scoring goals could control the uncontrollable. She assisted on 2 goals and scored 1 herself. Her team won 4-2. During the celebration, while teammates mobbed each other and parents cheered, Lily looked toward the sideline where her father should have been. Vanessa saw her face crumble for just a second before she forced it back into place. After the trophy presentation, Lily ran to Vanessa instead of to the team celebration. We won, she said, but she sounded lost. You were incredible. Your dad would be so proud. But he wasn't here. Not accusatory, just sad. Vanessa pulled her into a hug, this fierce little girl who'd already learned that life takes things away without warning. He wanted to be. Sometimes grown-ups have to make impossible choices. But he loves you more than anything, Lily. That never changes, even when he can't be where he wants to be. Lily cried then. Not dramatic sobs, just quiet tears against Vanessa's shoulder. And Vanessa held her, this child who wasn't hers but felt increasingly like she could be, and promised herself that she would never be another person who left. After the trophy ceremony, Vanessa drove Lily to the hospital. The little girl sat in the passenger seat clutching her championship medal, quieter than she'd been in weeks. Every few minutes, she'd glance at her phone, Daniel's old one that he'd given her for emergencies, as if willing it to ring with news. "Can I ask you something?" Lily said as they pulled into the hospital parking lot. "Anything. If Grandpa dies, will Daddy be okay?" The question was so adult, so aware of patterns Lily shouldn't have to recognize yet. She'd already learned that people die suddenly. Now she was calculating whether it would happen again. "I don't know, sweetie," Vanessa said honestly. "Losing people is hard, but your dad is strong, and he has you, and he has people who care about him." "Like you?" "Yes, like me." They found Daniel in the ICU waiting room, still wearing yesterday's clothes, looking like he hadn't slept in days. When he saw Lily, his face transformed, relief and love and exhaustion all at once. "Baby," he said, pulling her into his arms. "I'm so sorry I missed your game." "We won," Lily said into his shoulder. "I scored a goal." Vanessa recorded it on her phone. Daniel looked at Vanessa over Lily's head, gratitude so raw it was almost painful to witness. "Thank you." "How's your father?" Vanessa asked quietly. "Stable. Surgery went well. They think he'll recover, but it's going to be a long process." Daniel rubbed his face. "I should have been at your game. This was supposed to be your day." "It's okay, Daddy. Grandpa needed you more." The simple forgiveness of a child who'd already had to understand too much. A nurse appeared. "Mr. Reed, your father's asking for you." Daniel stood, torn. "Lily, go," Vanessa said. "We'll be right here." After he disappeared down the corridor, Lily climbed into the chair beside Vanessa. "Hospitals smell weird." "They do. Mom died in a hospital. Daddy told me. He said she was making my lunch, and then she fell down and the ambulance came, but the hospital couldn't fix her." Lily swung her legs, not quite reaching the floor. "Do you think hospitals make people sad because they remember the people who couldn't get fixed?" Vanessa's throat tightened. "I think hospitals are complicated places. Sometimes they save people, sometimes they can't. But they always try. That's what Daddy says about life, that you try even when it's hard." They sat together for nearly an hour, Lily eventually dozing against Vanessa's shoulder. When Daniel returned, his eyes were red, but his expression was lighter. "Dad's gonna be okay," he said quietly. "He's asking to meet Lily if you're up for it, baby." Lily perked up. "I've never met Grandpa Thomas." "I know. He and we had some disagreements after your mom died, but he wants to fix that now." Daniel looked uncertain. "Are you okay with that? Will he like me?" "He's going to love you," Daniel said with absolute conviction. Vanessa stood to leave, giving them privacy, but Daniel caught her hand. "Come with us, please. I know it's asking a lot, but—" "Of course." Thomas Reed was in his late 60s, gray-haired and gaunt in the hospital bed, but his eyes were sharp when they entered. His gaze went immediately to Lily. "That's Sarah's daughter," he said, voice hoarse. "Look at those curls." "This is Lily," Daniel said, hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Lily, this is your Grandpa Thomas." "Hi," Lily said shyly. "I hope you feel better." "Come here, child." Thomas gestured weakly. "Let me look at you properly." Lily approached cautiously. Thomas studied her face with an intensity that seemed to catalog every feature. "You have your grandmother's smile," he said finally, "and your mother's fire in your eyes. Your father tell you about her?" "Every day," Lily said. "She was a teacher. She liked books and gardens and me." Thomas's expression cracked. "That she did. From the moment you were born, you were her whole world." He looked at Daniel. "I'm sorry, son, for the distance, for not being there when Sarah passed, for missing these years with my granddaughter." "Dad, let me finish." Thomas's voice was firm despite his weakness. "I was angry after Sarah died. Angry at the world, at fate, at everything. And I took it out by disappearing instead of helping. That was wrong." He reached for Lily's hand. "I've missed too much already. If you'll let me, I'd like to know you." "Okay," Lily said simply. "But you have to come to my soccer games when you're better. I'm really good." Thomas laughed, the sound turning into a cough. "Deal." As they left the room, Daniel pulled Vanessa aside while Lily went to get water from the hallway fountain. "That was because of you," he said quietly. "What was?" My father calling, wanting to reconcile. Daniel's voice was thick with emotion. He had my sister's number, called her this morning before the heart attack, said he'd been thinking about mortality, about regrets, about how he'd cut off his only son because he couldn't handle his grief. He paused. Rebecca told him about you, about how you've been showing up for Lily, for me. He said if a stranger could care that much about his family, maybe he should stop being a coward and do the same. Daniel, I'm not. You changed everything, he interrupted. You walked into our lives and refused to let us stay in our careful little bubble. You pushed me to let people in, to accept help, to believe that opening up doesn't always lead to loss. His eyes were intense. I don't know how to thank you for that. You don't have to thank me, Vanessa said. I care about you, both of you. That's not something that needs repayment. Daniel stepped closer, close enough that she could see the exhaustion in every line of his face, the emotion he was barely holding back. Vanessa, I need to tell you something, and I need you to really hear it. Her heart hammered. Okay, I'm falling for you. The words came out rushed, like he'd been holding them back too long. I've been fighting it for weeks because it terrifies me, because letting you in means risking loss again, because if this goes wrong, Lily loses someone else she loves. But watching you today, seeing you comfort my daughter, support my father, just show up without hesitation, I can't pretend anymore. Vanessa couldn't breathe. Daniel, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. Because you deserve honesty, and I'm tired of being afraid of my own feelings. I'm falling for you too, Vanessa said, the admission feeling like stepping off a cliff. I have been for a while. I just didn't know if you could see me that way. Are you kidding? You're all I see, Daniel laughed, slightly hysterical. Do you know how hard it is to focus on financial models when you're teaching my daughter to braid hair in my living room? When you're cheering at soccer games like you've been doing it for years? When you defend her to school principals with more fire than I've ever seen? She's easy to love, Vanessa said softly. So are you. Daniel reached for her hand. But I need you to understand what you're signing up for. This isn't just dating. It's not just us. It's Lily. It's complicated schedules. It's always putting her first. It's soccer games and parent-teacher conferences and bedtime routines that can't be moved. It's grief that doesn't go away just because we move forward. It's everything I want, Vanessa interrupted. Daniel, I'm not looking for simple. I spent years building a simple, controlled life, and it was empty. This, you and Lily, this is messy and complicated and real, and I want it, all of it. Lily's voice echoed down the hallway. Are you guys done talking? I'm hungry. They broke apart, both slightly breathless. We should talk more, Daniel said. Really talk. About what this means, what we want, how we handle it with Lily. Agreed. But Daniel, I'm all in. Whatever this becomes, however long it takes to figure out, I'm committed to it. He squeezed her hand once before letting go. Good. Because I don't think I could watch you walk away. They took Lily to her favorite diner, the one with the oversized pancakes and unlimited hot chocolate. She ordered celebratory waffles, then proceeded to describe every moment of the championship game in excruciating detail. And then Sophia passed to Emma, but Emma was looking at a butterfly or something, so I had to run across the whole field to get it, and then their defender tried to block me, but I did the move Daddy taught me, you know, the fake left-go-right thing, and then boom, goal. Daniel listened with patient attention, asking questions, praising specific plays, but his eyes kept finding Vanessa across the table, carrying weight that hadn't been there before. After they dropped Lily at Daniel's sister's house, Rebecca had offered to take her for the night so Daniel could rest. They sat in his car outside Vanessa's apartment building. Come up? Vanessa asked. We should talk. Daniel's apartment had always been Lily's domain, colorful, chaotic, full of life. Vanessa's apartment was the opposite. Minimalist furniture, neutral colors, everything precisely placed. It looked like a magazine spread. It looked like nobody actually lived there. Wow, Daniel said, taking in the space. This is very you, or who you used to be, maybe. It's sterile, Vanessa admitted. I've been thinking about changing it, adding some color, some life. Or you could just spend less time here, Daniel said, sitting on her pristine white couch. Spend more time in places that already have life. Vanessa sat beside him, closer than strictly necessary. Is that an invitation? It's a hope. Daniel turned to face her fully. Vanessa, I need to know what you want from this, from us, because I can't do casual, not with Lily involved. If we move forward, it has to be with intention. I want everything, Vanessa said honestly. I want movie nights and soccer games and homework help. I want to be part of your lives in a real way, not as a visitor, not as temporary help, as someone permanent. That's a big commitment for someone who 3 months ago didn't know we existed. I know. But Daniel, these have been the best 3 months of my life. Every day with you and Lily feels more real than years of the life I was living before. I'm not interested in going back. Daniel studied her face like he was searching for doubt. What about when it gets hard? When Lily has a meltdown because I said no to something? When I'm exhausted and short-tempered? When you realize that dating a single father means always coming second to his kid? Then I'll be there through the meltdowns. I'll give you space when you're exhausted, and I'll never resent coming second to Lily because that's exactly where I should be. Vanessa took his hand. I'm not naive, Daniel. I know this won't be easy, but I'm choosing it anyway. Why? The question was vulnerable, almost pleading. Why us? You could have anyone, someone without baggage, without complications. Because you're worth the complications. Because Lily is extraordinary. Because for the first time in my life, I'm not performing or strategizing. I'm just being honest about what I want. She paused. And what I want is you, both of you, the whole complicated, beautiful package. Daniel's composure finally cracked. He pulled her close, kissing her with weeks of restrained longing. It was tender and desperate and felt like coming home to a place she'd been searching for without knowing it. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. I was terrified you'd say you needed time, he admitted, that you'd want to think about it. I've been thinking about it for weeks, I'm sure. We need to tell Lily, Daniel said, together. And we need to be careful how we do it. She's already attached to you. If this becomes something and then ends, it would destroy her. It's not going to end, Vanessa said, with certainty she felt in her bones. You can't know that. No, but I can choose it every day. That's what commitment means, isn't it? Choosing someone even when it's hard? Daniel kissed her again, softer this time. When did you get so wise? I learned from a guy who rebuilt his entire life around loving his daughter. He taught me that showing up matters more than being perfect. They spent the evening talking, really talking, about expectations and fears and what they both wanted, about how to introduce this relationship to Lily without overwhelming her, about the fact that Sarah would always be part of their story and that wasn't a problem, it was a truth to be honored. I'll never ask you to forget her, Vanessa said at one point. She was Lily's mother, your wife. She'll always matter. I know, but I need you to understand that loving you doesn't diminish what I had with Sarah. They're different loves, different chapters. I understand that, and I'm okay with it. More than okay. Daniel left at midnight, reluctant but aware that they needed to go slow for Lily's sake. At the door, he turned back. Vanessa, thank you. For everything. For seeing me when I was invisible. For fighting for my daughter. For not running when things got complicated. Thank you for letting me in, she said, for trusting me with your family. After he left, Vanessa sat in her sterile apartment and felt its emptiness more acutely than ever. This place had never been a home. It had been a showcase, a performance space, a carefully curated image. But she was done performing. She spent Sunday morning researching how to talk to children about new relationships. She read articles about blended families, about honoring late spouses, about making space for everyone's feelings. She wanted to do this right. Daniel called at noon. Lily wants to know if you're coming to dinner tonight. I may have mentioned you might become a more permanent fixture. What did you tell her exactly? I said that we care about each other, and we want to spend more time together. She asked if that meant you were my girlfriend. I said, I hoped so. He paused. Was that okay? It's perfect. What did she say? She said, cool, and then asked if that meant you'd come to more soccer games. I said, yes. She said, awesome, and went back to drawing. Daniel laughed. Sometimes I forget that to her, love is simple. Adults show up, they care, they stay. That's the whole equation. Maybe we should learn from that, Vanessa said. Dinner that night was spaghetti and meatballs, Lily's favorite. She chattered through the meal about her grandfather's recovery, about the upcoming soccer season, about a science project she wanted help with. After dinner, while they were cleaning up, Lily said casually, "So Daddy says you're his girlfriend now." Vanessa glanced at Daniel, who nodded encouragement. "Yes, if that's okay with you." Lily considered this, drying a plate with exaggerated care. "Does that mean you'll be here more?" "I'd like to be, if you want that." "Will you still come to my games?" "Of course." "And help with homework?" "Absolutely." "And watch movies with us?" "Definitely." Lily set down the plate. "Okay then, you can be Daddy's girlfriend." She paused, suddenly serious. "But you have to promise not to leave, because Daddy doesn't smile as much when you're not here, and I like it when he's happy." Vanessa knelt down to Lily's level, taking her small hands. "I promise I'm not going anywhere. I care about you and your dad very much, and I'm going to keep showing up, okay?" "Okay." Lily hugged her quickly, then pulled back. "Can we have ice cream now, to celebrate?" Daniel laughed, the sound full of relief and joy. "Sure, baby, let's celebrate." Later, after Lily was in bed, Daniel and Vanessa sat on the couch in the quiet apartment. He had his arm around her, she had her head on his shoulder, and for the first time in either of their lives, the future felt possible without being terrifying. "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop," Daniel admitted, "for you to realize what you've taken on and panic." "Not gonna happen." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I've spent my whole life chasing things that looked good on paper. Success, status, recognition, and none of it made me happy. But sitting here with you, watching cartoon movies with Lily, arguing with school principals about fairness, that makes me happy. That makes me feel like I'm finally living instead of just performing life." Daniel pressed a kiss to her temple. "You're good at this, you know. Being present. Being real." "I learned from the best." She tilted her head to look at him. "You taught me that showing up is the only thing that really matters. Everything else is just noise." "I love you," Daniel said quietly. "I know it's fast, but I do. I love who you are, who you've become, who you're still becoming. I love how you love my daughter. I love your fierce heart and your stubborn loyalty. I love you." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. "Love you too. I love your quiet strength and your dedication to Lily. I love how you never take the easy path if it's not the right one. I love the family you've built from tragedy. I love all of it." They sat in comfortable silence, the weight of those confessions settling around them like a promise. Outside, the city continued its relentless pace, but in that small apartment, time felt different, slower, more purposeful. "What happens now?" Vanessa asked eventually. "Now we live," Daniel said simply. "We show up for each other. We build something new without erasing what came before. We love Lily and let her love us back. We figure it out as we go." "That simple?" "That's simple." He kissed her, tender and sure. "No more hiding. No more being afraid of what we might lose. Just being present with what we have." Vanessa thought about the woman she'd been at that holiday party months ago, confident, polished, cruel in her thoughtlessness. That woman had been performing success while feeling empty. She'd measured worth by visibility and power, by who noticed her and what they thought. This woman, the one sitting in Daniel Reed's modest apartment, the one who spent Saturdays at youth soccer games, the one who'd learned that love was action, not performance, this woman was real. And for the first time in her adult life, Vanessa Pierce was exactly who she wanted to be. The following weeks unfolded with a rhythm that felt both new and inevitable. Vanessa's toothbrush appeared in Daniel's bathroom. Her coffee mug claimed space in his kitchen cabinet. Lily's drawings started featuring 3 stick figures instead of 2, always holding hands, always smiling. But integration wasn't seamless. There were moments when Vanessa felt like an intruder in rituals perfected over years. Times when Daniel pulled back, remembering promises made to someone who'd never come home. Instances when Lily tested boundaries, pushing to see if this new person would stay when things got difficult. The first real test came 3 weeks into their relationship, on a Thursday evening that started ordinary and ended in crisis. Vanessa had picked Lily up from school, a routine they'd established when Daniel had late client meetings. They were making dinner together. Lily's idea of cooking involved more playing than actual food preparation, when Lily suddenly went quiet. "What's wrong, sweetie?" Vanessa asked, noticing the shift. "Nothing," but Lily's voice was small. "Lily, talk to me." "Emma said her mom's getting remarried. She said it's weird because her mom's supposed to love her dad forever." Lily stabbed at the lettuce she was supposed to be washing. "She said people who get new boyfriends or girlfriends are forgetting the person who died." Vanessa's heart clenched. She dried her hands, giving Lily her full attention. "What do you think about that?" "I don't know." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Are you making Daddy forget Mom?" The question was a knife, sharp and precise. "Oh, honey, no, come here." Vanessa pulled Lily into a hug. "Your mom will always be your mom. Your dad will always love her. Me being here doesn't change that." "But Emma said Emma's mom might feel that way, and that's okay for her. But families are different. Your dad loved your mom very much. He still does, and he loves you most of all. Me loving you both doesn't take away from that love. It just adds to it." "How can Daddy love Mom and you?" Lily asked, the question carrying more weight than her 7 years should hold. "Because love isn't a pie that gets smaller when you share it," Vanessa said carefully. "It's more like a garden. You can plant new flowers without pulling out the old ones. They all grow together." Lily considered this, pulling back to look at Vanessa's face. "So Mom's flowers are still there? Even with your flowers?" "Exactly. Your mom's flowers are beautiful, and they'll always be there. Mine are just growing next to them." "What if I don't want new flowers?" The question was small, scared. Vanessa took a breath, knowing this moment mattered more than any presentation she'd ever given. "Then we can slow down. We can figure out what feels right for you. Because Lily, you are the most important person in your dad's life. In my life too. If something doesn't feel good to you, we need to know." "I don't want you to leave," Lily said quickly. "I like you being here, but sometimes I feel bad for liking it. Like I'm being mean to Mom." "Oh, sweetie," Vanessa's voice cracked. "Loving me isn't being mean to your mom. Your mom would want you to be happy. She'd want your dad to be happy, loving the people who are here, who show up for you. That's not betrayal. That's living." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." "And Lily? You can love me and miss your mom at the same time. Those feelings can exist together. They're both real and both okay." Lily hugged her tighter. "I wish I could ask Mom if she's okay with this." Vanessa's throat tightened. "What do you think she'd say if you could?" Lily was quiet for a long moment. "I think she'd say she's happy Daddy found someone nice, and she'd probably tell you to make sure I eat vegetables and do my homework." "That sounds exactly right," Vanessa said, smiling through tears. When Daniel came home an hour later, he found them on the couch, Lily asleep against Vanessa's shoulder, evidence of tears on both their faces. "What happened?" he asked quietly, concern immediate. Vanessa gently extracted herself from Lily, laying her down with a blanket. In the kitchen, she told Daniel everything. His face went through several emotions: pain, worry, gratitude. "I should have prepared for this. Should have talked to her about it before now." "You can't prepare for everything," Vanessa said gently. "Kids process things when they're ready, not on our timeline." "What did you tell her?" Vanessa repeated the garden metaphor, watching Daniel's expression soften. "That's perfect," he said quietly. "Sarah would have said something exactly like that. Daniel, if this is too much, if we're moving too fast for Lily, we can slow down, we can—" "No." He took her hands. "This is going to come up. There's no speed that avoids it. Lily needs to know she can talk about Sarah, about her feelings, about all of it, and she needs to know you're not threatened by that." "I'm not," Vanessa said. "Sarah's part of your story, part of Lily. I would never want to erase that." Daniel pulled her close, holding her like she was something precious. "I don't know what I did to deserve you, but I'm grateful every day. You didn't have to do anything. You just had to be yourself. That was always enough." The next morning, Lily was quieter than usual at breakfast. Daniel had taken the day off work to spend time with her, to make sure the previous night's conversation settled properly. "Lilybug," he said gently, Want to talk about yesterday? I made Vanessa cry, Lily said, pushing cereal around her bowl. No, you didn't, Vanessa assured her. Well, maybe a little, but good tears. Talking about hard things is important, even when it makes people cry. Emma says I'm lucky, Lily announced suddenly. She says most kids don't get new moms after their old ones die. Daniel and Vanessa exchanged careful glances. Vanessa's not your mom, Daniel said carefully. She's Vanessa, someone who loves you very much and wants to be part of your life, but she's not trying to replace mom. I know. Lily looked at Vanessa seriously. Can I call you something special, like not mom, but also not just Vanessa? Vanessa's heart swelled. What did you have in mind? I don't know yet. I'll think about it. Lily went back to her cereal, the crisis apparently resolved in the magical way children compartmentalize things. But Daniel caught Vanessa's eye across the table, and in that look was everything: gratitude, love, hope, and the beginning of something that felt like family. The next test came from an unexpected source: work. Marcus called Vanessa into his office on a Monday morning with an expression that meant big news. Catherine Torres is opening a West Coast office, he said without preamble. She wants you to run it, marketing director for their entire Western division. It's a massive opportunity. Vanessa's stomach dropped. California? San Francisco. Significant salary increase, equity stake, your own team. This is the kind of offer that defines careers. Marcus studied her. You don't look excited. I am. It's just, I wasn't expecting this. Talk to Daniel, Marcus said, reading her better than she'd given him credit for. Figure out what you want. But Vanessa, opportunities like this don't come twice, and long-distance relationships are hard, especially with a kid involved. She found Daniel at lunch, his office door open, spreadsheets covering his desk. Can we talk? She asked. He took one look at her face and closed his laptop. What's wrong? She told him about the offer, watched his expression shift from surprise to understanding to something that looked like resignation. That's incredible, he said, but his voice was hollow. Catherine Torres personally requested you. That's huge. It's in San Francisco. I know. Daniel stood, walking to the window. Vanessa, this is your career. This is what you've worked toward for years. I've also built something here. With you. With Lily. We've been together less than a month, Daniel said quietly. I can't ask you to turn down a life-changing opportunity for a relationship that's barely started. You're not asking. I'm choosing. Vanessa, no, listen to me. She moved to stand beside him. A year ago, I would have jumped at this offer without thinking twice. But I'm not that person anymore. My priorities have changed. Kids change everything, Daniel said, still looking out the window. I can't pick up and move. Lily's school, her friends, her routine. She's finally stable, and my dad's here, recovering. I can't leave him either. I'm not asking you to move. Then what are you saying? I'm saying I don't want the job. Daniel turned to face her. You haven't even thought about it. I don't need to. San Francisco has opportunities. So does this city. But this city has you and Lily. That math is simple. It's not simple, Daniel said, frustration creeping in. This is your career, your future. You can't just throw it away. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing what matters. Vanessa took his hands. Daniel, I spent years building a career I thought would make me happy. And I was miserable. These past months with you and Lily, this is the happiest I've ever been. Why would I leave that for a bigger paycheck and a fancier title? Because what if it doesn't work out? The vulnerability in his voice was raw. What if we break up in 6 months and you've given up everything for nothing? Then I'll have spent 6 months living instead of performing. That's not nothing. Vanessa, be realistic. I am being realistic, she interrupted. Realistically, that job would mean 18-hour days and constant travel. It would mean missing Lily's games and your late-night conversations and all the small moments that actually matter. I don't want that life anymore. Daniel was quiet for a long time. I can't be the reason you give up your dreams. You're not. My dreams changed. A year ago, I dreamed about corner offices and executive titles. Now I dream about being there when Lily loses her next tooth, about Sunday mornings with you, about building something real instead of something impressive. She squeezed his hands. You didn't change my dreams, Daniel. You helped me find them. What about Marcus, the company? They're counting on you. There are other opportunities, other paths, but there's only one you, only one Lily. Vanessa smiled. Besides, I think Marcus already knows what I'm going to say. He told me to talk to you first. He knows where my priorities are. This is insane, Daniel said, but he was smiling now. You're turning down the opportunity of a lifetime. I'm choosing the life I actually want to live. That's not insane. That's the first sane decision I've made in years. Daniel pulled her into his arms, holding her close. I love you. You know that, right? I know. I love you too. That's why this is easy. She turned down the offer that afternoon. Catherine Torres was disappointed but understanding. You found something more important than career advancement, Catherine said on the phone. That's rare. Hold on to it. Marcus was less surprised. I figured you'd say no. You're different now. Happier. That's worth more than any job title. But the conversation that mattered most happened that evening when Vanessa told Lily about the decision she'd made. So you could have moved to California, but you're staying here? Lily asked, processing. Because of us? Because I want to be here, with you and your dad. That's where I want to be. Lily was quiet for a moment, then launched herself at Vanessa in a fierce hug. I'm really glad you're staying. Me too, sweetie. Me too. Spring arrived slowly, then all at once. The city shed its gray winter skin and bloomed into something vibrant. Daniel's father recovered steadily, moving into a rehabilitation facility with plans to eventually live close to his son and granddaughter. Thomas and Lily developed their own relationship, weekly visits that involved card games and stories about Sarah that made Lily laugh. Grandpa says Mom used to put ketchup on everything, Lily reported one evening, even ice cream when she was little. That's disgusting, Vanessa said, laughing. I know, right? But Grandpa says she was weird like that. Weird in a good way. These moments, casual mentions of Sarah woven into everyday life, happen more frequently now. Vanessa learned to welcome them, to ask questions, to keep Sarah's memory alive alongside their growing present. One Saturday morning in April, Daniel surprised them both. I want to show you something, he said, loading them into the car. He drove to a house on the edge of the city, modest, with a yard that needed work and windows that let in stunning light. The for sale sign in the yard made Vanessa's heart skip. What are we doing here, she asked. Looking at our future, maybe. Daniel helped Lily out of the car. I've been thinking about this place. It has 4 bedrooms, one for Lily, one for us, one for my dad when he's ready, and one for guests. The yard's big enough for a garden. It's in Lily's school district. Wait, Vanessa said, processing. You said one for us. Daniel took her hand. I know we've only been together a few months. I know this is fast. But Vanessa, I'm sure about you. About us. I want to build a life together, a real one, and I want Lily to have a home with both of us in it. Are you asking me to move in with you? I'm asking you to build something with us. Not move into my apartment, but create a new space that belongs to all of us. He gestured to the house. If you want to. No pressure. But I needed you to know that's what I'm hoping for. Lily tugged on Vanessa's sleeve. There's a tree in the backyard, perfect for a swing. Come see. They toured the house together, Lily narrating possibilities for each room. The kitchen was bright and open. The living room had built-in bookshelves. The master bedroom had an attached bathroom with enough counter space for 2 people's morning routines. In the backyard, standing under the tree Lily had claimed for a swing, Daniel wrapped his arms around Vanessa from behind. What do you think? He asked quietly. I think it's perfect, Vanessa said, watching Lily chase butterflies through the overgrown grass. I think it's everything. So that's a yes? That's a yes. Lily ran back to them, breathless and excited. Can we really live here, all of us? If Vanessa says yes, Daniel said. I say yes, Vanessa confirmed, and Lily's shriek of joy probably startled birds 3 blocks away. They moved in 6 weeks later. The transition was chaotic, boxes everywhere, furniture that didn't quite fit, arguments about where things should go. But underneath the chaos was joy. They were building something together. Vanessa claimed a corner of the garage for workspace. Daniel set up his home office in the spare bedroom. Lily's room became an explosion of color and personality. And in the backyard, they planted a garden together. What should we plant? Lily asked, surveying their blank canvas. What about roses? Vanessa suggested. Your dad told me your mom loved roses. Red ones, Daniel said quietly. She always wanted a rose garden, but we never got around to it. They planted roses, red ones for Sarah, white ones for new beginnings, pink ones because Lily liked the color. They added vegetables because Lily wanted to grow her own tomatoes, sunflowers because they made everyone smile, herbs because Daniel liked to cook. As they worked together, dirt under their nails and sun on their faces, Vanessa felt something settle inside her. This was what home felt like. Not a showcase apartment or impressive address, but this, messy hands and shared laughter, and building something that would grow. Vanessa, Lily said, wiping soil off her face, I figured out what I want to call you. Yeah? I want to call you Nessa, like Vanessa but shorter, because you're not my mom, but you're not just Vanessa either. You're something special. You're Nessa. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. I love that, sweetie. I love it so much. That evening, after Lily was asleep, Daniel and Vanessa sat on their new porch swing, watching fireflies blink in the darkening garden. Happy? Daniel asked. Incredibly. You? More than I thought possible. He pulled her closer. After Sarah died, I thought this part of my life was over. The building a home part, the planning a future part. I resigned myself to just maintaining what we had. And now? Now I'm living again, really living. You gave that back to me. You gave it back to Lily, too. He kissed her temple. Thank you for not giving up on us, for seeing past my walls, for loving my daughter, for staying when you could have left. I was never going to leave, Vanessa said. From the moment Lily handed me that crayon drawing, I was hooked. They sat in comfortable silence, the city lights glimmering in the distance, their daughter safe inside, their future unfolding in the garden around them. The championship game rematch came in late May, Lily's team facing the same opponents in a battle for regional supremacy. This time, the entire family was there. Daniel, Vanessa, Thomas in his wheelchair, but cheering loudest of all, Rebecca with her new boyfriend. Lily played like she had everything to prove. She scored twice, assisted on another goal, and when the final whistle blew with their team ahead 4-3, she ran not to her teammates, but to her family. We won, she announced, sweaty and jubilant, launching herself at Daniel. You were incredible, he said, lifting her despite her protests that she was too old for that. Did you see my goal, Grandpa? Saw both of them. You're a natural athlete. Nessa, did you see? I saw everything. You were amazing. After the trophy ceremony, after the ice cream tradition, after the celebration photos where Lily insisted everyone squish together, they returned to their new home. Thomas retired to the guest room. He'd been staying with them while his assisted living apartment was being prepared. Rebecca and her boyfriend headed out for dinner, and Daniel, Vanessa, and Lily settled into their evening routine. Bath time, bedtime stories, the careful ritual of tucking in. Nessa? Lily said as Vanessa adjusted her blankets. Yeah, sweetie? I'm really glad Daddy asked that question at the Christmas party. Vanessa blinked. What question? Not Daddy. You asked him a question, the mean one that made him sad. Lily's logic was childlike but profound. If you hadn't asked that mean question, you wouldn't have learned about Mom. And then you wouldn't have said sorry. And then you wouldn't have become his girlfriend. And then we wouldn't all live here together. The observation was stunning in its simplicity. The worst moment of Vanessa's professional life, the question that had humiliated them both, had been the catalyst for everything good that followed. You're right, Vanessa said softly. Sometimes bad things lead to good things. But I'm still sorry I hurt your dad that night. It's okay. He's happy now. I can tell because he smiles at breakfast. Lily yawned. I love you, Nessa. The words, said so casually, hit Vanessa like a freight train. I love you too, Lily. So much. Downstairs, she found Daniel in the kitchen, cleaning up from dinner. She just told me she loves me, Vanessa said, still processing. Daniel smiled. She's been saying it for weeks when you're not around. Guess she finally felt brave enough to say it to your face. Daniel, she's incredible. You've raised an incredible human. We're raising her, he corrected gently. You're part of this now, part of her life, part of her story. I know. It's just sometimes I can't believe this is real, that I get to have this. Daniel dried his hands and pulled her close. Believe it. This is real. You're real. We're real. That night, lying in bed in their new home, listening to Daniel breathe beside her and knowing Lily was safe down the hall, Vanessa thought about the journey that had brought her here. A year ago, she'd been a woman who measured worth in accomplishments and visibility, who saw people as opportunities or obstacles, who asked cruel questions without considering their impact. That woman felt like a stranger now. The person she'd become was someone who showed up, who kept promises, who loved fiercely and without strategy, who understood that the most important things in life couldn't be controlled or curated. They could only be lived. She thought about that holiday party, about the question that had changed everything. In that moment of casual cruelty, she'd exposed not Daniel's flaws, but her own. And in the months that followed, she'd done the hard work of becoming someone different, someone better. Not perfect. She still struggled with control, with wanting to fix things that couldn't be fixed. But now she knew that presence mattered more than solutions, that showing up was enough. The garden they'd planted would bloom soon. Red roses for Sarah's memory, white ones for new beginnings, pink ones for joy. And underneath, roots growing stronger every day, creating something that would last. Just like them. Daniel stirred beside her, pulling her closer in his sleep. And Vanessa closed her eyes, grateful beyond measure for the question that had broken her open, for the family that had helped her rebuild, for this messy, beautiful life they were creating together. She wasn't waiting anymore. None of them were. They were living. And that, Vanessa finally understood, was the whole point. In the months that followed, life continued with its inevitable mixture of routine and surprise. Lily started third grade with Vanessa helping to pick out her first day outfit. Thomas moved into his assisted living apartment but came for dinner twice a week, teaching Lily card games and telling stories that made Daniel laugh until he cried. The garden bloomed exactly as they'd hoped, roses and sunflowers and vegetables that Lily proudly harvested for family dinners. Work continued. Vanessa took on new projects with renewed passion, finding ways to mentor younger colleagues the way she wished someone had mentored her. She taught them that success meant more than metrics, that people mattered more than performance, that the best careers were built on genuine connection rather than strategic networking. Daniel's practice grew. The Pemberton account led to others, but he maintained his boundaries, still leaving at 5:15, still prioritizing dinner with his family, still present for every important moment in Lily's life. And Lily thrived. She grew taller, louder, more confident. She wore her cast until it came off, then immediately broke her other arm doing a trick on her new backyard swing. She brought home permission slips for field trips and artwork that covered every available wall space. She asked hard questions about life and death and love, and they answered as honestly as they could. One evening in September, almost a year after that infamous holiday party, Daniel found Vanessa in the garden, tending the roses that had bloomed beyond expectation. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked, sitting beside her on the ground. "Just thinking about how much can change in a year," Vanessa said, touching a red rose gently. "How different everything is." "Better different. So much better." She leaned against him. "I keep thinking about that night, about the question I asked, about how cruel it was." "You've apologized enough for that," Daniel said gently. "I know, but sometimes I think about who I was then, so sure of myself, so thoughtless about other people's pain, and I'm grateful that woman doesn't exist anymore." "She wasn't all bad," Daniel said. "She was just lost, playing a role she thought she was supposed to play. And now? Now you're found." He kissed her forehead. "You're exactly who you're meant to be. A fierce advocate for 7-year-olds, a patient partner to anxious widowers, a person who shows up. That's who you are now." From the house, Lily's voice called out, "Dinner's ready. I helped make it. And by helped, I mean I supervised." They laughed, standing and brushing dirt from their clothes. As they walked toward the house, their house, filled with light and laughter and the evidence of lives fully lived, Vanessa felt something she'd never experienced in her pristine apartment or her corner office or any of her carefully curated achievements. She felt home. Not because of the building or the garden or the perfect sunset painting the sky pink and gold, but because of the people inside. The man who'd taught her that walls could come down. The girl who'd taught her that love was simple when it was real. The family they'd built from heartbreak and healing. Inside, the table was set with mismatched plates and wildflowers from their garden. Thomas sat at one end, teaching Lily some complicated card game. Daniel moved around the kitchen with comfortable efficiency, pulling dinner from the oven. This was it. This was everything. Not perfect, not curated, not impressive by anyone's external standards, but real, honest, full of love that had been earned through showing up day after day, moment by moment. Vanessa sat down at the table, Lily immediately claiming the chair beside her, Daniel serving food with Thomas offering commentary. And in that moment, she understood what she'd been searching for all along. Not success, not recognition, not the approval of crowds who didn't really know her. Just this. Just love. Just presence. Just the gift of being seen and choosing to see others in return. The question that had shattered her world had rebuilt it into something infinitely better. And she wouldn't change a single moment of the journey that had brought her here. They were a family now, unconventional, hard-won, built from grief and grace and the stubborn decision to keep showing up. And nothing had ever been more right.